we're going to talk about some of the books that either we have loved, we have read, or have changed my life. And I got to tell you, Alonzo's got his list of books that it's for him. I've got my list of books, which is probably a little crazier than anybody else's list of books because I used to read 3 books a week for about 20 years straight. But, and then Chris will have his list of books. And we're all different, but we all have similar goals. And you'll see that some of us read different books, and that's okay. That's what we're doing this. We're so similar, but we all have our own differentiators, and that's what makes the world so interesting. So we're going to talk about books that have changed our lives. And so, Chris, let me have you introduce a few concepts. Let Alonzo say hello, and then we'll get into the content and the things that I want everybody should know about it. And then let's start having party time.
All right, that sounds good. So you kind of threw me off there. Apparently, I'm supposed to be thinking about books that changed my life. That is a pretty tall order, so I'm going to have to rethink my list. But let's get to the most important question that has come in today. What is Chris drinking? It is a Diet Coke.
So Chris is drinking a Diet Coke. I am personally drinking distilled water, which normally is more for irons than it is for human people. But I spent 3 hours in the sauna today, really detoxifying, so I'm drinking distilled water for the next 48 hours.
Yep.
How about you, Alonzo? You got distilled water? You got something good over there, like scotch?
I got a little bit of everything. Yeah, I got all you need. So, but you know what? We're going to keep it rated G here today, and we're going to focus on this. I got a little bit. I know this is not popular, but this LaCroix stuff is pretty doggone good.
You know what? Around Florida, everybody drinks it.
Yeah, this is some good stuff. It's like I tried it, and I'm like, I don't know, but it grows on you. So this is Raz Cranberry LaCroix, and once I finish taking that out, just a little bit of water to stay hydrated.
Raz Cranberry. Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting. So I should have kept that to myself. Well, I just want to say it's so good to be here. I am so glad to share in some news that will be coming very soon. It's just been a phenomenal opportunity just to be here and hang out with my friend and good brother Mike and Chris as well. So if anyone has not had a chance to check out some of our previous episodes, look on YouTube, check out what we've already talked about, all the great things that we've socialized about and shared, and all the great guests and everything else. And just come on and just learn about the cloud. Come on in and learn all you can, share in this community, and just grow with us as we talk about all sorts of wonderful things. So today I'm ready to get started. I'm ready to just socialize and talk about all these wonderful things that we have in store. And I'm ready to rock and roll. Back to you, Chris.
All right. Well, before we get started off, let me just roll through some of these comments that have been coming in. And actually, while I'm rolling through some of these comments, never mind. I can't.
Thank you, Dylan. Dylan is the most inspirational 16-year-old you can imagine. He's learning cloud at 16. We love this guy. 25-year-old CEO. That's Dylan.
Yes.
So happy you're here. Robert, always good seeing you, cloud hired.
Robert is from Arizona, right?
Yes,
yeah.
Robert.
Yeah,
Robert.
I remember Robert. I remember you.
Timmy,
we're very happy to have you here.
Yeah, welcome, Timmy.
And Ruth, wow, Ruth, cloud hired. Ruth, I bet you within 6 weeks, you're a cloud architect somewhere. You're fantastic. Abigail, yes, cloud hired. Cat hired, you got this. Abigail, I love your attitude, energy, enthusiasm. Thank you for your service to this country and all the things that you've done.
And Abigail will be part of that military roundtable that we're premiering on Friday afternoon. So make sure you tune in for that.
Oh my, good seeing you. Rosella, cloud hired.
Oh, the cloud crew. I like that.
I love that. Absolutely.
Who keeps looking at the piano?
A lot of people seem to be.
Yeah.
Sam Hudson, cloud hired and cat hired. And Dustin, that looks like a nice plate of vegetables. Looks like something that I would eat. Along with distilled water. Yeah, that's me. I eat pure paleo. So.
Oh. So Ruth says a lot of people on LinkedIn have asked her about the cloud engineering program, and she's told them it's worth the investment.
Well, thank you much. Ruth is an amazing cloud architect. She's a cloud architect student in our program. She blows us away constantly. So I take that as a very good compliment, and I'm grateful. Oh, this makes sense. So excited and ready for a career change, leaving the pastry chef world and joining the tech world. Good for you.
Sweet.
I did it. I went from healthcare to tech and loved it, and you could do it too. I do love to cook. I used to cook. I was practically a chef because it was so much of a hobby, but now I don't have time to cook and I have meal delivery because I'm too busy. And yeah, drop a cat emoji. Abigail's got the second most beautiful cat in the world. Or
Second most.
Cindy's, of course, the most
That is a
beautiful,
bit
and
of
I'm
a
only
shaded
slightly
compliment.
biased to think my cat's the cutest.
You're just saying that because Sunny's not nice to other cats.
Sunny's just as cute too, but
Sunny doesn't play well with others, huh?
No, she does not. She doesn't play well with herself.
Eugene, we're excited to work with you last Friday, but you see, here's the thing: Abigail's cat looks just like mine.
I agree with Angelo here. Please bring the pastries with you, Dustin.
Yeah, why not?
See, even Abigail's with me. Don't forget Sunny. Just
She's
because she's
right.
not adjusting well to her new environment doesn't mean that she's not a fun cat. Huh.
No,
So
yeah, Sunny's a
before we
great
get-
cat and beautiful Maine Coon.
Sunny's just discerning in her company.
She's old. Just saying. But all right. Well, before we get to let's move on to the topic of discussion tonight. And there's so many. I don't even know where to begin. I love reading. I love reading. I will read the liner notes of a CD or a record. I'm intrigued by what's in the information. So I'm excited to talk about our favorite books, our favorite authors, or our favorite. Like as I explained to Mike and Alonzo when we were talking about this, it doesn't have to be an author. One of my favorite writers is Jim Morrison from The Doors, and most people don't think of him as an author, but he's a writer for sure. He's a writer. I did an essay in college for my English class on his poetry, and my teacher was like, "What? What? Jim Morrison?" I'm like, "Yeah, Jim Morrison." It's like, so I turned in my essay with a CD. It's like, here you go. Enjoy.
Creative points for creativity.
I
man.
gotta love that. I can just picture Rider Through the Storm or Baby We Can't Get Much Higher turning into an English course.
Well, I mean, it was the same semester that we did Summer Night's Dream. So, it's just right there in the same realm of.
Yeah, seriously.
So anyway, I don't want to give away too much, but he's one of my favorite. But who wants to take the lead here? And so I'll let one of y'all. I'll let y'all decide who's going to take the lead, and then I'll ask you the question.
I unfortunately have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 books that I picked out that changed my life. So I tried to narrow it down, but for me, until recently, I used to read 3 books a week every week for 20 years. So it's 1,000 books a year for 20 years. I've gone through about 20,000 books. Now, having said that, recently, I'm scheduled from 7 a.m. till 11 p.m. at night, 7 days a week. I haven't read anything other than an instruction manual, which I can barely even understand anymore because I'm overwhelmed.
So is that you volunteering, Mike?
If Alonzo doesn't volunteer, I'll volunteer. I'm good to go.
All right. Well, since he's prepared with books, then I'm going to throw him a curveball.
Okay.
Who is your favorite author?
Author?
Or writer?
What do you mean by... Okay, so I'm going to preface this by saying I have never read a novel in my entire life or a fiction book, but I've read about 20,000 technical publications, medical publications, physical therapy publications, and strength and conditioning publications. But as far as authors, I don't have any for fiction. And if I did,
that'd have to be fiction. Your favorite writer,
okay.
favorite person to read from.
Actually, it's probably Malcolm Gladwell. I think just reading his content is really interesting to me. And I like the way he talked about thin slicing and blink, and I like the way he positions things. He positions things in a very objective sort of way. So I'd say if I have to read anybody's, all in all, it'd probably be Malcolm Gladwell. I really like him.
So what does Malcolm write about, and what is it that you like about his writing?
It's simple. It's effective. It's not somebody that needs to tell 1,000 stories. It's not wordy. It's straight and to the point, but it's really, really functional. Like he wrote a book on thinking with your subconscious called Blink. And he talked about how the subconscious sees things, but he addressed it and said, look, we all have hidden biases. So when you've got a hidden bias, how do you use your hidden bias with your gut instincts? For example, maybe somebody likes this brand's product. And if they're going to see the product, they're always going to like it because it's got the Apple stamp on it. But maybe Apple isn't right. So he was trying to say to look for your positive and negative biases and how to integrate that with your logic. And it was just fantastic.
Interesting.
I didn't list that on my list of books, but it was still very.
Oh, I know. Like I said, I'm going to throw you a curveball here. Adapt and improvise, Mike.
Yeah, I'm fine with adapt, improvise, and overcome. I've got a little bit of training in that realm.
So now that I've thrown you the curveball, let's get to the heart of it. What would you say one of your favorite books is?
I'm gonna go through them chronologically.
Oh, okay.
He broke it down chronologically.
Oh, here we go.
Well, the first book that I read was about 25 years ago, and it was Emotional Intelligence from Daniel Goleman. This, for me, changed my life because I had just finished my CCIE. I'd been a real techie, but I had some emotional intelligence from medical training, empathy training for my medical practice. When I read this book and it talked about your emotional intelligence quotient, how it mattered so much more than your IQ in terms of your long-term career success and salary, I went, wow, could this be true? So I dedicated a lot of time and effort into trying to go through the exercises in that initial book and thinking about it. And whoa, it took me out of that first job that was paying me $85,000 and into basically $165,000, $170,000 job with 6 months experience 25 years ago. And it all came from the lessons in that book. So emotional intelligence, which is much more important than your actual IQ. And in most cases, it's much more important than your technical competency with regards to your career. That one hit me first.
So time out. So are we going chronologically in order of publication or chronological to you and your relationship with it?
When I read it.
Okay. All right. I was just curious because I realized that I thought that that's where we were going. So I wanted to make sure. Okay. I like that. I like that approach.
And the next one, believe it or not, was The Definitive Guide to Body Language by Barbara and Alan Piesi.
Hey, you got these written down for me?
Yes.
Okay, good. We're going to post them later. I just want to make sure.
And I have the authors written down too.
Okay, good.
And what I really loved about the Barbara and Alan Piesi book was as follows. I was an architect, and as an architect, 50% of what I do, or 60%, is customer facing. And after reading that book, when I spoke to someone, they leaned in versus came back versus gave a crooked smile versus a jaw drop smile versus this smirk. It was like I had a dictionary into what was going on with the people. So when we deal with communication, 55% is what we look like when we say something, 38% is what we act is what we sound like, and 7% is actual content. So from this book, I learned how to take in and read people. So when I go into a boardroom, I could read the room. Go on an interview, it was like I instantly knew what the hiring manager wanted to hear, and as I would talk and they would smile, I'd know how to tune it. So if I wanted to, it was just incredible. So also, it kind of helped me not make stupid mistakes with my wife more frequently, because I could say when she'd say, yes, that's fine. And I knew it wouldn't be. Now, granted, I probably didn't need the Barbara and Alan Piesi book for it, but it did improve my relationships with people by getting me better at reading body language. I'd say that's the second one that truly impacted my life.
All right. Are we stopping at 2?
No, I got a couple more. And these were some of these were career changing. The next one was Presenting to Win by Jerry Weissman. Now, I've taken about $30,000 of presentation skills training over the year. And Jerry Weissman used to work with a lot of us at Cisco. And the way Jerry Weissman talked about putting your slides together, what needs to go there, the logical flow of tell them what you're going to tell them, remind them what you told them. I mean, his logic was brilliant. So, the executives at Cisco all use this. So the Jerry Weissman Presenting to Win, again, that's the kind of thing that can add $50,000 to your salary by making you a good presenter.
Yeah.
and it was transformational for my life. I watched that. I read that book, and I got a promotion right after it, which was a pretty heavy promotion. The next book after that, which my students know about,
your students know about all these, by the way.
Yeah, they do. But this next one, my executive coach Frances sent it to me. Frances has been a person that's changed my life. She's mentored me, coached me for 2 decades, and I can't say anything but the best things about her. I gave a speech. I had just finished my MBA program, and I talked about operational expenditures and capital expenditures and EBITDA, and I sounded like a real expert. I just graduated an MBA program, and all the executives in the office, they were all CEOs and CTOs and CFOs who were like this. And I knew something wasn't right, but I didn't know what it was. So I had said to Frances, Frances, this is like 25 years ago, 20 years ago, before I became a big architect. I said, I don't think that went well. My gut's not liking it. What did you think? And she smiled and said, can I send you a book? And the book was called Why Business People Speak Like Idiots. And it taught me how to say things simply. And then I'm going to get to this next movie/book. I recommend the movie. I think it was better than the book, but I recommend this book for everybody in the entire world. It's called Peaceful Warrior. And I got to tell you, it was written by Dan Milliman. He was a martial artist, he was a yogi, and he was a gymnast. Part of the reason I resonate with him, but it was more than that. It's a story about learning how to use your mind, learning how to use your body, learning how to be fully present in the moment, learning to observe all the amazing things that are there going on around you, and learning how to do 10 times more than you ever thought was possible. I strongly encourage this book to everyone, and the movie. You know, they wrote it in terms of a hot college gymnast and a guy named Socrates. It was at a gas station. It was a bit of an odd setting, but there were so many valuable lessons. So I've got to say they were my favorite ones. And I guess The Art of War. Everybody has to read that.
I was going to say, how has he not said The Art of War yet?
That's the last one that I've read at least 50 times. The Art of War. Military strategy, business strategy. It used to be mandatory reading in MBA programs. And then MBA programs got kind of soft and less business oriented, less warfare oriented. And then they're like, okay, here's the new modern stuff. But you know, that one, loved it. That's my list of my favorites.
All right. I like it. I'm not going to get into mine just yet because something just happened that I'm going to bring up. But I'm going to go ahead and make an observation. And once everyone hears my list, everyone will understand my observation. Mike is a creative type. He's the creative. He's the Steve Jobs. He's the Bill Gates. He creates he's got all our ideas and all our all our brainstorming in his head. But every single book that he just listed was not creative. It was all business, all operational. So, well, I just want to point that out now, and I'm going to point out the alternative to that when I talk. But before I talk, we've got a surprise that just happened.
We have a surprise. I love surprises.
Yeah,
Praveen! Oh my God! Welcome, Praveen. So Praveen is an expert cloud architect. He was one of my students. He works at JP Chase. He's a world-class big data architect as well. Praveen is also a good friend, and just having Praveen here. Praveen, welcome here. Thank you for coming.
Hey, Praveen.
Hi, Alonzo. Thank you, Mike. Hi, Chris. Can you hear me, you guys?
Yes,
fantastic. We can hear you, and we're thrilled having you here. You have no idea how excited I am to see you.
Oh yeah, very excited.
Just I was watching you guys on YouTube. It was
I hope
nice.
you came prepared with your favorite books.
Can I ask you the comedy question? How much do you code each day as an architect?
I don't do any code.
Wait, what?
Wait, you don't code?
Say it again.
I have to listen actively and then understand the business problem, ask for clarification, understand the jargons, business terms.
Okay, can you say that again? How much coding do you do?
I don't do any code.
Okay.
No
All right.
code.
So the reason we're saying this is I saw a certification provider today make a video and they said, hey, if you want any cloud job, you got to code. So, and then they talked about spending time on the management console. Since you're an architect, how much time do you spend on the management console or the CLI? None, because you're a designer, not a builder.
I don't do
And,
that.
that's
So
really the
even
thing. So I
yeah,
love it because and the reason I do this is, I've been an architect for 25 years. I wouldn't even know what a programming language is because that's what I do. And, and I speak to all the architects everywhere. They're like, this is what I do. And yet somehow we have certification providers saying, here, study DevOps, be an architecture, SysOps. And if you're done that, learn Python. And guess what? You'll get hired. And I'm like, no, you won't. Not for an architect job. They're not architect skills. Now, maybe a cloud admin job, sure. Maybe a DevOps job, sure. But not this. So train for the job you want. So thanks for being asked on the fly some silly question like that. I know you don't code. I know you probably know how to from other careers you have. But in our job as architects, we all design. We don't touch the tech.
and I think we are very highly paid professional. We should not waste the time, precious time in coding, right?
Exactly.
You got other
Yeah.
people to do that.
You got much cheaper resources to do that. Software developers cost half of architects or a third of architects. Pay a software developer. They're cheaper and they're better at it because it's their job.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
it's like asking the chef to make to pour the water at the bar.
Yeah, it's a different skill. Or asking the pilot to just be the flight attendant for the trip.
Yeah.
Nobody's in the
and
cockpit. Who's flying the plane?
And as a solution architect or a cloud architect, I will be working on multiple use cases, like multiple projects.
Yeah.
So coding means you will have to take one piece, something like that. But here you can't do that.
Because the second you do that, you lost the big picture, and all of a sudden something fell apart.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of stuff will break.
All right. I gotta wrangle us back up. All right. So we've got Praveen here as a surprise. We might have gotten our signals crossed. We I was thinking Praveen was going to be joining us in a couple of weeks. So Praveen, are you going to be available in a couple of weeks?
For what?
That's not important. No. Anyway, so we're talking about some of our favorite books. I know you may not have been prepared for the conversation, but if you happen to be ready, do you want to share any of your favorite books with us? Or we can come back to you because Alonzo and I haven't talked about ours yet.
No, I have favorite book, and that is, again, it's not kind of emotional intelligence or business acumen.
Oh, mine aren't either. Mine are nowhere near related to it.
When I started with Mike, I did third day or fourth day, I came to know about the system design, and it's very important to ask the question, understand the all 360 degree, not only technical.
Right.
Because very fifth day, Mike explained me, Praveen, you already have technical thing, whatever world required. Focus on business acumen and executive presence. But system design, I came across one book, and that is for solution architect. Though it is solution architect, it talks about how to ask questions and how to design the system. That is a kind of technical book. Non-technical book, rather than book, I prefer to go through some courses from LinkedIn, learning business or executive presence, how to keep cool yourself, those kind of things. But technical book, yeah, I can guide you. I can tell you what book I used to follow. So I will have to find the exact name. It's very generic name, and some Srivastav is writer.
All right.
Yeah, great. I didn't even list any technical books in that group, so you're doing much better than me. All mine were body language, communication, the art of war. So Praveen's obviously in a much better, more state than I am.
Yeah, and I used to get very blunt feedback from Mike. Praveen, This is not going to work for solution architect or cloud architect. You will have to show your energy. You will have to show passion. You are talking, that is fine. Content is good, but you will have to show your energy. And I was, what he's talking about. I was recording my video and audio at 2 o'clock night when everybody is sleeping at home.
And I was like, okay, here's what we need to do. We need to slow it down. You're an executive. Make a point, pause, make your next point, vary your vocal tone. And everybody, when I start saying this, is like, crazy. And then they watch the video of somebody doing it and they're like, oh my God.
So, Alonzo, would you like to share about your books and authors, or would you like me to go?
Well, okay, I'll do it. So
I mean, I didn't prepare, so I'm trying.
you didn't? Okay, well, I'll give you a little time back there.
I can't prepare. Levers back here.
But it's this goes all the way back. I've always been a creative type, so I've always been into science fiction. I've even for my former career, I've created concept characters for games, serial characters, all this different stuff. So I've had a chance to actually do some hands-on illustration. So my thoughts are always been towards creating something out of nothing, environments, characters, scenes, themes, even creating like stories themselves. So always gear myself towards that. But as I continue to move towards different aspects of my career and different facets, I started doing more strategic based books on how to win, how to be able to engage customers, how to be able to engage anyone for that matter. So without further ado, I'm going to give you 3 books that I like, that I've really worked with. The first is called Make Your Bed by Admiral William H. McRaven. He is a former SEAL Team 6 commander, and he's done a lot of interesting action guy stuff. But I liked his philosophy on it's not about what he's done, but how he engaged any type of scenario, whether it's with his folks that he commanded in his unit, or things that he's actually done. So his focus was a lot about getting up, starting your day. And a lot of the chapters that he focused on is that if you want to change the world, then blank, 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 blank. So a lot of the chapters that he subscribes to, one in particular really stood out to me, is that if you want to change the world, be your very best in the darkest moments. So
Yes.
if anyone is ever familiar with, I've been surrounded with a lot of folks from the military, whether it be family or friends. And once you get engaged with certain environments and certain groups, you understand the training that they go through, the attrition rate, the odds of them being able to make it from point A to point B are astounding and astronomical. So based on SEAL training, it's gone, the attrition rate has gone as high as 20% or as low as 10%, which means out of every 10 folks, only 1 make it, or only 2 make it out of all that. People train for days, months or years to try to become a Navy SEAL or become anyone in that special operations community. So when you think about all the folks that go through it, they're physically tough. They've probably done all sorts of continuous hardcore training, but at the very focus of it is that it's the mental piece that you need to focus on more than anything else. So taking it back to what the chapter 8 is that if you want to change the world, be your very best in the darkest moments. You're dealing with almost insurmountable challenges all day long. And this is not even what you would call Hell Night or Hell Week, which is a week-long process of doing lots of challenges of what they call evolutions, continuously for days on end. So just imagine that and put that to a side. A regular day with their training, you're looking at about 15 to 16 hours a day. So you're going to be thinking about all sorts of different things. You see people to your left, you see people to your right. They're thinking about quitting, or they've already dropped and they're walking to the bell, which is an indicator to everyone, whether it's in the instructors or the class, 3 rings lets everyone know I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm dropping on request or DOR. So you're seeing all this stuff happen before your eyes. I'm sure you're starting to question, is this for me? Can I do it? Is this really what I want to do? Am I strong enough? Am I quick enough? Am I all this other stuff? All this doubt comes into your head. So it becomes a really dark situation for yourself mentally. So it's about, if you want to change the world, be your very best in your darkest moments. You have to put that aside, the doubt, the fear, all the things that you think are obstacles or are obstacles to you reaching that goal. If you want to be SEAL, then you do whatever it needs to be done to get it accomplished. You have to realize that if, with all the folks who want to be a certain specific skill set or a Navy SEAL, you are one of the few that actually got on the sand to be there to train. So right off the mark, you have to say to yourself, I already beat some insurmountable odds. How can I beat more? It's just one foot in front of the other. You have to it's like a turkey. You don't shove the whole thing in your mouth. You tear off a piece and you start gnawing on it piece by piece and being able to accomplish those goals in smaller, digestible pieces. Let's see what I can do in an hour. Let's see what I can do in 2 hours, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. How can I complete this day? Can I complete this week? And you keep going until it's done. Now, let's take it to any career, specifically cloud. Everyone asks themselves, I was doing, say for instance, there's someone who was actually a cook, a chef. How can I swing it over from creating culinary delights to be able to architect these awesome designs for different companies? It all starts with you. Your darkest moments, throw them out, because you are your own worst enemy. You are the car, like I said before. Are you going to brake for fear, or are you going to accelerate and break past those moments, those walls, those obstacles that tell you, I can't, I shouldn't, I won't, I'm not this, I'm not that, all the negativity. Because on the other side of the fear are your goals reimagined and realized right before your eyes. So you have to decide, is this what I want to do? And if this is what you want to do, there are no plan Bs. You get it done, you knock it out, plan your work your plan, get your obstacles removed, whether it's personal, whether it's financial, whether it's physical, mental, whatever it is. You design how you want your life to be, you execute, and you reach that goal. So that's the book that I really like to read. It's a very positive book. Mike, Chris, and myself, we will be adding the links to how you can get these titles of these books, and whatever resonates to you, we'll add that in the link below. But I wanted to share that first one. Now, the second one is.
Thank God. Yeah. Sorry, I'm sweating over here. I'm like, I got nothing. I hope he's got more.
Oh yeah, I've got 2 more that I want to throw at you.
Right.
And it's just really one of the things that outside of cloud architecture and technology, Mike and I both have similar backgrounds in martial arts. I used to train in Chamandi, Penchak Silat, and also in Kali years before for over 10 years. And I understand, and also I trained in Aido in Japan with Japanese swordsmanship. So I've had like a different diverse background on a lot of the martial arts that I've had to train. And with that type of mentality, you start understanding, how do I face my enemy? How do I defeat my enemy? How do I emerge victorious? So you think a lot about that, and you start searching for that knowledge to help you win, not only as they did in feudal Japan or in any other warrior case across the world throughout history, but you also internalize that and apply yourself with the enemy of myself is doubt, fear, hesitation, procrastination, all these type of things. And you're able to plug those specific scenarios into your brain according to this book. Now, this book is called Book of the Five Rings by Miyamoto Musashi. Musashi, he was a renowned samurai in feudal Japan, and based on the information that I had, he had never lost a duel. Unfortunately, the only thing that took him out was stomach cancer. But outside of that, he was an unbeatable warrior. And one of the things, 2 bullet points that I want to discuss. The first one he said in this book is that there is nothing outside of yourself that can ever enable you to be better, stronger, richer, quicker, or smarter. Everything is within. Everything exists. Seek nothing outside of yourself. That caught me because we always blame it's this, it's that. I don't have this, I don't have that. He, she, it, whatever is in my way. No, it is not. Because when you decide and resolve yourself to meet this goal, realize these goals, be able to push past anything that you had that you want in life, it's funny. Like, say, for instance, if you're in a dangerous situation, you're going to find a way to survive. I don't think any of those excuses are going to resonate in your brain when you're in a situation where you could get hurt, or you might need your car breaks down in a snowstorm, and you're not going to make all these excuses. Oh, it's cold outside. I don't want to walk. It's too dark out there. I don't want to go out there. I don't know what's out there. You're going to figure out what needs to be done to resolve this situation. So it's all internal. You have to resolve yourself internally to meet your goals, go past your enemies, your challenges, anything that gets in your way, and you have to just make it up in your mind that I'm going to do this. I'm going to be a cloud architect. I'm going to be a cloud engineer. I am going to move past this job that may not meet my financial expectations or my overall goals for my life and my family. And I am going to get this thing done, come quote unquote hell or high water, because this is what you have resolved to do. This is how you want to get things done. And if you want to get things done, you're going to make a way to make it happen. So the second bullet point I like, it's called, actually what he said was, think lightly of yourself and deeply of the world. I thought about that. And you think a lot about what you want for your life, what you want for your family. I want to be rich. I want to get an awesome salary. I want this awesome 24 karat platinum career role that I want for myself. I want this, I want that. But however, how are you going to change the world? How are you making an impression in this world today? What are you going to leave behind besides your desires to get things accomplished? For me, I really like making a difference at Go Cloud Careers. I really like helping people, posting on LinkedIn. Someone asked me a question about how do they think their video went, or how I can offer any type of advice based on my experiences, not only as a cloud architect, but also in my prior career in anything that I've done previously. So I like to help. And in a lot of ways, I'm changing the world because I am exchanging my knowledge, and I'm using that as currency to help build someone else's life, to be able to help change where they're going, where they're not happy about, and be able to provide some sort of knowledge, some sort of hope, some sort of inspiration. Even if I try not to, I'm able to make these things happen because it's what I want to do. It's how I want to make an impression in life. So those are the two bullet points that I wanted to share with Book of Five Rings by Miyamoto Musashi. Now, the third book is called, and I think a lot of people may have been familiar with this book. It was very popular over the last.
Hold on real quick.
Yeah. Sure.
So Omar asked, is this the same samurai that unified Japan? Or is this
no, it's a different one. It's a different one. Yeah.
Right. I wanted to ask that before we got on to the third book.
Yeah, Miyamoto Musashi, he was a part of a higher caste system. The one that unified Japan, he was from a lower caste, and he worked his way up through subterfuge, a little bit of backstabbing, and the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and I'm going to work my way up to get there. He did some things and he got some stuff done. So, but it wasn't the same character. I cannot remember his name. It's at the tip of my tongue, but I will. I promise to get that information to you. So the third book is called The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. Awesome book. Awesome book. It's kind of like a new world extrapolation of Sun Tzu, Miyamoto Musashi, Kokoro. It's another book And it creates a visual and mental focus on how to adapt to today's world, today's challenges. So I'm not going to go through all 48, of course, but I will go through 3 laws out of the 48 that really resonated with me. And the first one is it's law number 4, and it says, always say less than necessary. And it resonates to me because I can't remember the quote that I got it from, but it says, better to be silent and be thought a fool than to open your mouth and confirm it. You have to be careful with what you say. You have to, especially in an interview. If you under talk, they're not going to get all the information that they want out of you. But if you over talk and over explain, talk a whole lot of fluff that has no meaning, you're going to kill your opportunities right there. So be specific in what they ask. If they ask for A, you give them A. Don't give them A, B, C, D, E, F, G. That time will come. But if it is in relationship to how you can expound on that knowledge while staying within the realm of A, stay there. Stay focused on each ask in that interview. Stay focused on each goal that you want to reach. Don't add anything extra. Even in, say, for instance, project management, it's called gold plating. The customer didn't ask for it, so why are you giving it? Stay focused on what you want and what the ask is in your life, or how you want to answer any type of questions. Let your yes be yes, your no be no, and nothing extra. So the next one is law number 9. And law number 9 is win through your actions, never through an argument. And if people agree with you through your actions instead of your words, you are more likely to sway lasting opinions than to argue it and be considered a fool, and to be an emotional one at that. Action is where you demonstrate your beliefs. So with that being said, if you want to articulate with a client, and say, for instance, you're a cloud architect and you want to articulate with a client, but you may have a doubting Thomas, if you will, that works for the organization in their specific IT cloud tech department, who grossly disagrees with your execution. Don't argue with them. However, convince them through your intelligence, through your emotional intelligence, through how you're able to exact and explain this to the boss, how you articulate that. Give the bullet points why. Argue not emotionally, but argue logically, intellectually about why your point is better. And not only that, don't discourage or downplay your opponent, but rather use that knowledge to uplift them if they're your opponent. So there's 2 things that's going to happen. Either negatively, you've already created an enemy. You used emotional disparagement to not only embarrass yourself, but put down those that go against you in light of folks who are in charge of whether you're going to get that account or get that job or not. So that is not the right way to go. But however, you're able to bring your point across logically. You're able to edify your opponent. You're able to uplift them with knowledge, and you'll be able to expound logically and intelligently the ideas that you want to bring across to your client. So those type of examples are really, they resonate with me across the board, whether it's in martial arts, whether it's in the boardroom, or whether it's socially, if you're coming across a detractor or someone who is very recalcitrant, to what you want to explain in life. And finally, law 19. Know who you're dealing with. Don't offend the wrong person. The skill of correctly measuring people is the most important with regard to getting and maintaining power. You have to be sure you know everything about a person before you work with them. So when it comes to intelligence, you have to, if you're going to walk into, like, say, for instance, an interview, recon. It's called reconnaissance. It's a military term where I'm going to go in and I'm going to get as much information about that person as I can. I want to know who they are, where they eat, what they eat, how they've got from one point of their career to the other. Use that information to share, to further give them an understanding. I know about you. I know about your position. I know about your skill set. I know about the company. I know about where I would be, what I would do in this organization. And I'm going to wrap that all in the package of saying how I can get it done with emotional intelligence and the logical understanding of cloud architecture or cloud engineering. So with these are some of the concepts that I just really loved about that book. I really love engaging with people. I love to understand people. I love to understand why they walk, talk, think, why their habits are, what how they how do I interact with this person. And this is some of some of the engaging things that I like, that have not only helped with my career, but just helped with me socially. So just wanted to share those three books and those bullet points with you, and I hope that resonates with anyone who heard it.
Fantastic, Alonzo. Love those books, by the way. I'm actually pretty familiar with two of those three.
Glad.
That was amazing. Recalcitrant. All right.
Yeah, I like.
Vocabulary lesson and literature lesson.
There you go. So clearly read a lot. I used to know this person that would always describe recalcitrant sinusitis, recalcitrant sinusitis, recalcitrant sinusitis. I'm like, just give them Levaquin and be done with it. And they were like, no, but about this and this and this. I'm like, here, this will kill anything. Stop thinking about it.
Yes.
And I'm not afraid to ask, what the heck does recalcitrant mean? I know I've heard it.
It keeps coming back and it keeps coming back. It's stubborn.
Okay.
Just refusing to, Mike said it best.
All right. There we go. See, I'm not afraid to ask.
But really what Alonzo is saying, it all goes with the same art of war. Know yourself, know your enemy, never fear the 1,000 battles. You'll always be victorious. Know yourself and not your enemy. For every win, there'll be one loss. Know your enemy and not yourself. For every win, there'll be one loss. Don't know yourself and don't know your enemy, and you lose every time. So most people don't know themselves, and they definitely don't know their enemy.
Right.
Hence the reason most job interviews don't go through. Know yourself and the hiring manager. Hey, you may get hired because now you know. Know yourself and not the hiring manager is 50-50. It's luck. I don't like luck. To me, luck is when preparation meets opportunity. So prepare. So when the opportunity is there, then you can make your own luck.
You got? Do you have any thoughts on the on that amazing synopsis, Praveen? You're
muted, Praveen.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Yeah. So can you repeat it, please?
Do you have anything to add to that conversation? It was an amazing synopsis.
No, yeah, really not onto that. So that book is very new for me, and thanks to Alonzo that he explained in a very good way, like professional book review, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm sitting here.
It was really awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, he should get paid. like authors.
Yeah.
I think that might be working itself out, Praveen. There may be some surprising things coming soon.
Yeah, but he's talking about from authors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I read one book and I started to read it after joining the course, this Go Cloud Architect course, Empathy, and that book was from Harvard Business Review. That book they write some book, and it was like series of emotional intelligence. What is empathy? And they actually talk about that listening skill. So empathy you can develop. You should have very good listening skill, and you should be a very good listener. So they start from that, and they say that it's very typically way. If you are very powerful, it will make you very less empathetic. So be careful while you are having power and how you are using the power. That kind of discussion they do in the book, and they take refer from good, like maybe author, some thinker like Annie Mackey, Jack Gensler. Those guys are there. They say that what great listeners actually do. They explain that, and you will have to think, oh. And there is one example that there was that is not basically from that particular book, but I can correlate the power of active listening, and that worked in interview for me. And also I'm utilizing the same in my current role and job. So one lady was working in the kitchen, and her 12-year-old son came suddenly and said, "Mom, you love me so much." Mom said, "What's new in that? How do you feel? How did you think that? How did it come to your mind?" And he said that, "Mom, this is very simple. Whenever I start to ask anything, whenever I start to speak anything, you pause all the task, you stop and start to listening to me. Now see the difference, that you love me. How did that guy feel? Because she stopped everything and started to listen to him, right? So this is the impact of listening. So the guy you are talking to, you are into conversation, and that guy, if you feel that you are a good listener, that guy will have different respect
Exactly.
for you, right? They will start to take you seriously. No, he is very good listener, right? So those kind of they talk in that book. uh, Even they talk about product design. They give example how Facebook uses empathy to keep user data safe. Many philosophy, many example, many use cases are there. I cannot explain too many things there. But yeah, if you want to develop empathy, if you want to understand the importance of empathy, how to develop that, how it is related to emotional intelligence, and how it is related to your active listening skill, so those things you can develop. So yeah.
Absolutely, you can develop them. I wish the whole world could get the empathy training that I had. If I could send everybody to nurse practitioner schools or medical schools to get empathy training, I would. In fact, when I with students in our cloud architect career development program, our cloud engineer career development program, and our tech career accelerator program, all of them, I teach the empathy the way you would teach doctors and nurses, because I feel like everybody should get that level of empathy. It's different than other people do. And active listening is not about just being quiet. It's about being there, and it's about when somebody speaks and repeating it back to them to show that they understood you. It's about looking at somebody in the eye and making sure your body language is there. It's not just about being quiet. There's a lot that goes into active listening, and this is a skill that needs to be taught. And when you add empathy to the mix, I mean, realistically speaking, you are talking about a massive, massive boost to your career. So training emotional intelligence on average raises somebody's salary by about $30,000. Training their soft skills for a tech professional about $60,000. So you're talking about $100,000 delta in somebody's pay from focusing on emotional intelligence and empathy and communication skills. So if I've got any advice for you, my students, get it in the career development program. And if you're not with us, get some kind of emotional intelligence and empathy training.
Alonzo, you got people ready to run through the walls, man. That was an amazing analysis.
Well, I hope I'm helpful, and it's just when you're around Mike and Chris and Praveen, and you have all these awesome minds and working with everyone, it's really hard to not be able to flourish and grow and share all this cool stuff that you've learned and contribute. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, I should have gone first. I'm going to keep going through the comments here, because I mean, it wasn't just me. Everybody loved what you had to say.
One thing that I want people to understand is I learned, people say experience is a great teacher, but observation is too. And I've learned to fail up, and I failed a lot. I didn't learn this and say I'm cracking open a book and saying, okay, I got it. I don't have any marks on my sheet. I've made tons of mistakes, and I've grown from them. I've learned how to temper those mistakes and focus on what I want, not deviate from anything based on naysayers. Why are you doing this? You're an artist. Why are you going into tech? That's really swinging the pendulum from A to Z, from creative to logical, from different sides of the brain. And I just was able to take the time through patience, belief in myself, an awesome supportive wife who was like the best wife in the world to me, and being able to focus on myself, grow and execute. Plan your work your plan, get it done. Come here to Go Cloud Careers. If you know someone who wants to be a cloud in the cloud space, there's no place on this planet they're going to get this type of environment in this community. And I say that to anybody.
Yeah.
Well, anyone with proper English.
I got a good one for you. This one, hopefully you appreciate it like I
do. I've been called that before, so I am not offended at all. So I'm not.
I didn't feel you were.
That's what they would call me when I was in Japan. So it's funny. So
I forget that you actually lived in Japan.
Yeah.
So okay. So for everyone that's wondering, how did the whole Japan and samurai thing happen? Did that happen? Did your interest in that occur while you were there, or was it before you lived there?
I had this desire to go to Japan. I always loved the samurai. I loved what they stood for. I loved their code of honor. I even studied that the very, I can't remember the actual name of them, but the very pants are pleated in 7 different ways. And there's 7 different aspects of the code of honor that they live by. And it was just something phenomenal for me. So I decided back then in my early career in graphic design that I took time off. I took a long sabbatical off of work. I pulled a ridiculous amount of money out of my 401k, paid my rent months in advance, found this school called the Japanese Center for Michigan Universities when I was living in Michigan at the time, got my visa, got everything lined up, and I went to go to school out there. And I didn't know anyone. Everyone thought I was nuts. Everyone wondered where this came from. But it goes right back to the laws of what I was saying. You execute your plan. It doesn't matter who's afraid to try this, in which case they will be naysayers and try to drag you back, because the fearful are always lonely. So I executed. I got out there and I learned a whole lot of Japanese. I learned about, I was able to take martial arts. I was able to learn swordsmanship out there in Japan. And it was one of the most amazing experiences that I've ever had in my life. And this happened 20 years ago. And to this day, I'm still, and I stayed with multiple families called a homestay. And to this day, I still speak with them. So out of fear, or out of those who would be fearful to execute their plan, look at what they would have missed if they let it stop them.
And somebody tried calling me out here saying I'm trying to avoid giving my book list. It's not really that hard for me to avoid it when I've got Alonzo and Mike here. Just yap. It's really easy for me to get away with not giving my answers. So we'll keep going. You know.
And you can see what will happen. Imagine if Alonzo and I were to call each other after this show. You can only imagine what that call would be like. So
yeah,
we will be up late.
Yeah. So
Black Summer says he's in Ghana again. Another person, because now I think we're dealing with an additional time zone. Well, Ghana may be in the same time zone as Cameroon, because it's both sub-Saharan Africa.
Yeah. So yeah, let's keep the procrastination up, Alonzo. Can you draw anime?
You know, I'm rusty. I had my drawing board. I had all sorts of stuff. I can. I haven't done it in a while, but I drew lots of mecha, tons of mecha. I would come up with my own mecha. So, yeah.
I don't know what mecha is. I can imagine what mecha is.
Those giant Japanese robots.
Okay. Yeah. So, Mike, in case you wondered what that that lead-in was for that premiere that we did with Nick.
That
was a version of mecha.
Oh, okay. I was wondering.
It was really close up and zoomed in on it. It was hyper real, but it was very hyper real.
Oh, we've got Cedric in South Africa.
And keep up the
Black Summers in Ghana. Tell us where you're from.
Yeah,
tell us where you're from in the chat box.
Yeah.
Let's start with Praveen first. Let's start with Praveen. I want to know exactly where he's from.
Where I'm from, my native are here in USA.
All right.
Everywhere. Where are you? Where are you from originally, and where are you at now?
Oh, I'm from India, northern part of India, and here I'm in Philadelphia.
Philly.
Philadelphia.
We know about Philly. I grew up in
Yeah.
Philly. I got to come. My fact, Praveen, my wife's in Philadelphia right now, and I got to get up there and see you very soon.
Oh, I can meet. I can invite her.
I have to get up there and see you. We've had so many conversations.
Praveen's got to get a Philly meetup done. Let him get that figured out before he
Okay.
starts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
Jawad?
waiting for Jawad.
You're
He
waiting
said he
for
wants-
Jawad. All right. Good luck
Yeah,
with that. Jawad just started his new job. He's going to be busy.
Actually, he
Well,
wants to
he
join.
just got hired by AWS. He was a really great student in our program. We loved working with Jawad. He was fantastic. I think we just released a video about him.
We did
Yeah,
today.
today I started.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, my strategy is at work here. Just keep everybody else talking about other things. But in reality, I guess I'll take the opportunity to talk about my books. So I'm not going to give myself the full screen here. I don't like the full screen. But so I set the topic. Apparently didn't think I needed to prepare for the topic because I didn't realize that they were going to come with a thesis about each book that they had prepared. So I came with just some ideas in my head. But again, this is Head in the Clouds with Mike and Alonzo, not Chris. So Chris doesn't need to be prepared. Yes, Chris is definitely on the floor. He's also trying to run away, but he's got to run the show. All right, so I did not come prepared with a thesis to present to everyone about my topics. I did that in college. Not doing that again. So I'll start off with my favorite author. My favorite author is Nathaniel Hawthorne. He is the author of many short stories and a couple of, I guess they're called novels. He's the author of Scarlet Letter. But in particular, my favorite is Young Goodman Brown, which is one of his short stories. For various reasons, it's that I'm not going to go into. It's just too in depth, and I'm not prepared to go in depth. But I've never been able to quite put my finger on why I like it or why I like his writing. I don't like any of his contemporaries' writing. I don't like anyone else's writing from the time period. He's from the early 1800s. I don't like anyone else. Herman Melville, none of the people from that same time period. The Walden, the guy that wrote Walden, no, could care less. I'm not a fan of any of that. But for some reason, I'm a fan of Nathaniel Hawthorne. So that is my favorite author. My favorite book would be A Scarlet Letter. Again, never been able to put my finger on it. I picked it up in high school, and I loved it. I was a high school kid who loved a book written 200 years before and couldn't tell you why he loved it. That doesn't make any sense to me. I wrote essays about it. I don't remember what I wrote. But so that is my favorite author and my favorite book. Now, with that being said, there are a couple of books that I've read recently that I really enjoy. I really enjoy it. I don't know exactly what it's considered. It's not a novel, but it's a publication based off of a research study done at the University of Chicago during the 1950s. It's called When Prophecy Fails. And it is about it's about mass delusions, cults, things of that nature. A group of professors and researchers from the University of Chicago infiltrated a cult and embedded themselves in the cult, and their entire research was based on how they handled this coming end of the world, or this coming change that was going to happen, how they handled when it didn't happen, and the links that they would go to deal with it not happening. Because if they had acknowledged that it didn't happen, that would have completely shattered their reality. And so it's just a very intriguing read. And towards the end of it, it gets really in depth into the cognitive dissonance that these people had to practice to keep up the belief that this thing was still a reality when it was clearly not a reality. And do what?
It had to be so difficult to be able to keep your distance but still stay in that realm.
Yeah, and it's the depth that they went with it. It was two professors or two, and then I think it was 4 or 5 students, TAs, volunteers from the university, and some of them were kicked out because the group realized, hey, they're not actually believers. So you get and again, it's called When Prophecy Fails, and so you get the entire aspect. You get the perspective from everybody that infiltrated it, because you get the perspective from the people that were kicked out. You get the perspective from the people that stayed in. You get the perspective from the people that were from the outside looking in. And it's a very intriguing read. Again, it's from 1955 or 1956. They published it immediately after everything had collapsed.
Wow.
That was an intriguing read. And that one actually came to me from Facebook. I got bored and I said, somebody tell me a good book to read. No other qualifications. Tell me a good book to read. And that was one of them.
Interesting.
Yeah. So in addition to that, there's also The History of the Future. Let me find the full title. I've got it right here.
I've heard of the book before.
It's The History of the Future, Oculus, Facebook, and the Revolution that Swept Virtual Reality. And for any of you that are familiar with Oculus Rift and virtual reality, the Facebook Oculus. This is the story of Palmer Luckey, the 17-year-old who created the modern virtual reality in a trailer in his parents' garage.
And wait, did he have 20 years experience to do that?
Yes, it was a qualification. It was a requirement that he had to make for himself, that he needed 20 years. No, in reality, he was upset that Virtual Boy from the 90s didn't take off. And so he was upset that he didn't have a real virtual reality thing. So he went and made it.
Wow.
He went and made it a reality at 17. And it's the entire story from the beginning.
Wow.
And I haven't finished it yet. But it goes all the way through. He and his group of people that turned this into a company that is bought by Facebook for $3 billion. And it goes through the entire story of him and his small group of people getting. Imagine the drama in a small group like that going in 4 years, going from a trailer and
billions
and into billions.
That sounds like a movie in the making.
Exactly. Well, so the same guy that wrote Console Wars, that they turned into a Netflix movie. He wrote the Console Wars, which is the story of Sega versus Nintendo from the 90s.
Oh wow!
Or 80s and 90s.
Wow.
Yeah, I can't remember the author's name. It's Blake J. Harris is the author, but he's very in depth. But the History of the Future, it's a really interesting story, because again, it's a 17-year-old who created what everybody's raving about now with the Oculus and virtual reality, and he did it because he was upset that there wasn't a good one. So
that's
he made it
for you.
And then right now I am reading. Make sure I get it on the screen. No.
Yeah, you got it. Atomic Habits.
Atomic Habits.
Atomic Habit.
And it's very interesting. I'm only this far into it. So I'm only 2.5 chapters in. But this is the quick synopsis of it is it's about how to improve yourself or make changes to yourself through habits. Small habits, little habits, not big habits, just small incremental changes. Small incremental improvements over long periods of time equal massive improvements.
Yeah.
And so what stuck out to me, and this is actually what just prompted me to make this topic, and I apologize for not being prepared, but you're welcome that you got this amazing review from Mike and Alonzo. But this line here, this entire chapter, but this is what caught my attention and made me think of this topic. So this is at the beginning of the show. I asked Alonzo to talk about what should I do? What can I do? What can I be? How do I decide what I can do or and there's a reason I did that. It's because you can be whatever you want to be. You can do whatever you want to do. So here's the excerpt that made me think about making this our topic for today. It says, the ultimate form of intrinsic motivation is when a habit becomes part of your identity. It's one thing to say, I'm the type of person who wants this. It's something very different to say, I'm the type of person who is this. So as an example, I'm trying to quit smoking and somebody offers me a cigarette and I say, no, thank you. I'm trying to quit. Alonzo's trying to quit smoking. Somebody offers him a cigarette. Alonzo says, no, I don't smoke. He's not trying to quit. He just doesn't smoke. Simple little things like that. It's like, can I be an architect?
I am an architect.
I am an architect. And that's something that we tell all of our students. You're architects. If you're in our architect program, you're an architect. Think like an architect. So that line right there hit home for me. And I was just like, wow. And so obviously made me go into the next chapter, which is nice. More intriguing. But it got me thinking. I was like, we say this every day.
Yeah.
And it just so happened that I came across that line the same day that somebody had asked, well, what can I do? And it was like the final straw on the camel's back that day. I was like, Mike, you're going to make a video about this. I'm tired of getting this question. Everybody asks, what can I do? Or what should I do? It's not what should you do or what can I do? It's what do you want to do?
Yeah.
What do you want to do? What do you want to do? If you know what you want to do and decide what you want to do, then you can accomplish it.
And it's not that we don't want to answer the question, but the key is that anybody can do anything they achieve, but they have to put their mind to it. So we come online 3 times a week for free on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So people can ask us, I would like to be a CAD engineer. How do you get there? So we can tell them how to get there. So when someone says, I did this in the past, I'm like, okay, that's interesting history. Now, what do you really want to do? Because that's what we can impact. I can't change your past. History is history. But I can change your future. So let's plan your future. What Chris is talking about, and I'll go back to Chris, is something called neuro-linguistic programming. And it's a science from the 70s, and we still use it. So if I tell all of you, don't think of a pink elephant, you're all going to think of a pink elephant. And here's the reason why. The brain can't process a no. It doesn't know how. So if I say, I don't want to be fat, I'm telling my brain, I'd like to be fat, and I'm going to program myself to eat too much. If I say I'm a cloud architect, I know it in my mind. It's not saying I hope to be one. I am one. Because when your mind believes it, and your training believes it, and your focus believes it, you are one. Just thought I'd talk about where that science came from. Because I've been studying for a decade.
You got to rewire your brain.
Yeah, and they that's just a small piece of it. There's other pieces of the science of research that they use, that this writer uses, along with his personal experience. The guy that wrote the book had his face smashed in by a baseball bat when he was 17 and had his life changed forever. Sound familiar, Mike?
Yeah, it does. And here's the thing: for most of you guys don't know, I was training in Israel, some Krav Maga with some elite martial artists, basically the founders. I got invited to go train there because I've been doing martial arts my whole life. And I hurt my foot. I actually tore a ligament and broke several bones and taped it up and continued to train for 2 weeks with it, because how often do you get to train with the founders of Krav Maga? Anyway, I got home and couldn't walk and lost my ability to walk, and for 7 years couldn't walk. And I went to 13 different orthopedic surgeons. They said, forget it, you won't walk again. I went to 13 or 14 neurologists. They said no. I finally even found a specialist that I had a 2.5-year waiting list to go see. And when I went to go see him, he retired right before I got to him. So I literally said, I am going to be healthy. I got some training from some Navy SEALs in terms of being mentally strong. I went to a physical therapist and I said, I don't care what it costs. I want to be better. They spent 6 to 8 hours a day with me. I hired strength and conditioning specialists. They were $150 an hour to train me. They were the people that coach pro athletes. You know what? I became one of them myself just so I could learn how to do it. I was paying $100 an hour for yoga instruction to heal. I became a 500-hour yoga instructor to take care of my health. 8 years later, I can walk. Now, Chris that knows me, Alonzo that knows me, and Perrine knows me, they know I have a special room in my house that I heat to 130 degrees. And I have a 2-hour exercise routine that I have to do in that 130-degree room every day just to be able to walk, to be able to sit in the chair like this. But guess what? I do it because I have no choice. Adapt, improvise, overcome. And I'm telling you, I'm having more fun than I ever have in my life.
Yeah. So I want to circle back before we get to a few things in the chat box.
Yeah.
So I pointed out earlier, I said, pay attention to what Mike's books are. And the same thing was in place for Alonzo. They're both creative types. But what were their book types? They weren't creative. They weren't creations out of thin air. They were some organization, structure. They were what I would call an operations manual, or they're not novels. They're not fiction. But me, on the other hand, I'm not a creative type. And I'm drawn to very creative writing. I don't know if it's only something that I picked up earlier when Mike was talking. I was like, wait, Mike's creative. All his books are not creative. And I'm not creative, but I love creative things. Like I love, like my favorite stuff is artistic and creative. But I'm not creative. Like I am not a creative person.
I think there's something.
I thought that was an interesting thing that I noticed in real time. So, anyway.
I think there's truth because the analytical brain and the creative brains are very different side. The creative people are right brained. The analytical people are typically more left brain. Now there's some variation, but yeah. So
yeah, but I find it interesting.
Often want to go find things that we're not good at or that are interesting and unique to us.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. It's like, okay, so I'm an analytical guy. I'm not going to be intrigued by reading these structured things that analyze crap. I'm not going to be intrigued by that. Yeah. I like it, but I'm not going to be intrigued by reading about somebody else doing it. I'm going to be intrigued by reading about this guy going out in the woods doing his witchy stuff in Young Goodman Brown, but or reading, the Lord of the Rings or stuff, something like that. That's I'm intrigued by that. I'm not, but so I thought that was interesting. That's kind of how those were our lines of demarcation. Essentially, the creative people were reading structural books, and the analytical guy was reading not analytical and structured. But so,
Chris,
that's a good point. My wife is analytical, and she reads a lot of creative things.
So, go ahead. Yeah.
I'm so sorry, I didn't realize.
Oh, Mike, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I was just, as soon as Chris, it hit my mind. I went, wait, My wife's got an IQ of 170 and can do calculus in her head. I'm literally not joking. And she reads the most creative stuff in the world.
I had question. I saw that physical copy of your book, right? Hard copy. Why do you choose that generally? You have Kindle option, you have Audible option. Do you
Yeah,
have
I
any?
was gonna, I was gonna put that up from the chat box because Victor asked the same question, and I was gonna get everybody to answer it. So, I prefer physical. I prefer a physical book. I do listen. I do have a subscription to Audible, and I used it when I drove a lot. I used to drive all the time, and so I would use Audible then, just because there's only so many minutes in a day. When I'm driving, I need to make use of it. But I prefer physical hard copies of books. I can't read a book on a tablet. It doesn't work for me.
I agree. I got to feel the pages in my hand.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that tactile reference gives you somehow gives you a peek through the keyhole.
Mm-hmm.
Be able to turn those pages and read that. It's that incremental anticipation of reading that last sentence on one side of the page.
Oh, and flipping it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's what I enjoy.
There's some adrenaline there when you're
it's just like
flip the page.
What's going to happen, and somehow you have to have the discipline to not flick ahead, not ruin everything, but being able to temper yourself with patience incrementally to turn those pages to see what happens and not be led to destroy the story for yourself.
Yep. So what's your preference, Praveen?
Depend. I have physical copy also. I don't use Audible because sometimes I feel pressure on my ear and mind because already work from home, so many headphones. If you see right now I'm talking using this. I have this headphone, right? So it's too much. So I don't prefer Audible. I prefer book, or sometimes I prefer Kindle also. When I am traveling, I cannot deal with multiple books or something. Better to keep Kindle. Uh, but personally, what I like since my childhood, the smell of that book.
Yeah.
Taste, smell.
The pages.
You cannot
Yeah.
Yep.
Or when you crack it open for the first time.
Oh yeah, and you can
smell it, you feel it.
You feel the pack. Yeah.
You can feel the knowledge you're going to gain. It's such a good feeling.
Yeah, it's got to be like one of the references that I had. It's got to be hard copy. I prefer that over.
Oh yeah.
Me too.
The only reason I ever buy paperbacks is if I'm being really cheap and buying a whole ton at once, and because I'll go and buy like a whole ton of books at one time, and just because I'm like, oh, I got a wild hair, I need to go buy a bunch of books. But that brings up a question: what about this? What about today's generation? Like they don't. Do they grow up like they grow up with reading on screens? All of us grew up when we were young. Even me, we grew up with our primary point of reading was not this or not this. It was having to pick this up, or having to pick a magazine up, or having to pick a textbook up, or pick up a newspaper. But nowadays everything, the primary form is screens. So are they going to have that same feel of opening the book? That same, or are they going to have a different variation of, oh, I can't flick the screen just yet. I gotta wait. Gotta flip. Okay, now I can flick the
screen. That's a whole different conversation right there, because
it is.
Because it's the same thing. We just don't have it because we didn't live it. It's
hard to get into this conversation without
someone here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I wish we had Eva on right now to be able to ask Eva.
Yeah.
And that's the interesting thing. But time will tell. I only read paper, and I will print it out or read it in the book for a couple of reasons. One is it's easier on my eyes, but two, if I print it out, I can take notes on it. When we take written notes, it activates a part of our brain called the reticular activating system, which makes us more likely to learn that. Not so when you type it.
Nope.
So there's that benefit. Now, also orthopedically, here's what people do on their phone or their tablet. With a book, I can pick it up and I can sit up straight and not tax my neck. So, the implications of, written versus online or technical is a little different.
All right. So I know this has probably been our favorite show. Obviously, we're still talking at 2:10 or 8:10, whatever. But with that being said, I got to be the bad guy because I know Alonzo's got to go. I know we got I think a baseball practice or a softball practice. I can't remember which one. But so I'm going to let Alonzo go. If you want to give us any last words, Alonzo, and then we've got me and Mike can stick around, and Praveen can stick around if he wants to. So.
Well, what I want to say, thank you, Praveen, for coming. I always heard so many awesome things about you, but I just had a chance to actually meet you, and I'm looking forward to just talking some shop when we have an opportunity. To everyone here, thank you so much for the kind words. I really enjoy conversing with everyone, speaking with Mike and Chris, and just sharing our thoughts about the cloud, talking about technology, how we can help, how we can reinforce a whole new career trajectory for you. And also, if you all are interested, I'll add my list of some of my favorite books to the chat. If you're interested, I will share that with everyone.
Yep, and we'll also be putting them in the comments of the video after the video is finished, as long as he emails it to me.
Okay, yeah, I will do that. I will definitely do it, but it's always a pleasure. This is not. It's a responsibility for me to be able to share how I can help anyone grow, share my thoughts and experiences and know-how in the cloud with everyone. So, Mike, Chris, it's always a pleasure, my guys, and I will see you all on the next one.
All right.
Very
similar. I want to see Praveen and talk to you. I'm going a little looking for you, buddy. So look for me. So
we'll take the trip to Philadelphia. I'll get off my paleo diet for a week because in Philadelphia there's plenty of unhealthy food that's delicious.
Yeah, you got to have a Philly cheesesteak, Mike. That's a staple.
That one I've had a few because my family owned a Greek diner and they made lots of them. So I used to eat them with it. Well, in those days I could eat bread. Now I can't, but I'd eat it.
All right, Alonzo.
Okay, guys. Go.
I'm not going to get in trouble with her. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Okay.
So good to see you. It was so nice having you join us for this video today. Let me tell you about some free services we do for the cloud community. We have a free How to Get Your First Cloud Architect Job webinar, where we tell you all the things you need to do and know to get your first cloud architect job. In addition to that, we actually have a free question and answer session live on YouTube, where you can come and ask us any questions you want about building your career related to cloud computing or networking, and we'll answer them in real time for you because we want to get you to your goals. Several more times per week, we have guests from industry experts that I've known for decades that are movers and shakers that have changed the world, that can give you information so you can build the best career. I invite them periodically. They are on my show. If there's a chance to do some free training on our channel, we'll do it live because we want you to all to have the best skills for the best career. So please subscribe and hit the bell. I look forward to seeing you, and I look forward to assisting you in your technology career. Thank you so much. This is Michael Gibbs from Go Cloud Architect.